invasion through a mass deportation program. Trump responded to that claim just recently, just yesterday, in fact. He wrote a short post on Truth Social simply saying, quote, "True," with 3 exclamation points, confirming it. Now, in some context to this, Trump has repeatedly said on his first day that he will take office that he will start this process, that he will carry these out. And as part of this, he has suggested that he would declare a national emergency for this, and also likely invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 as the legal method to allow him to carry out those large-scale operations. That act, of course, goes back to like a couple of decades after the founding of the United States, and has been legally challenged and legally solid almost since the founding of our country, so it's very hard to fight it. Now, this was also the context of the corporate media narrative, which claimed that Trump was planning to become a dictator. Do you remember that? That was the headline you might have seen all over the place. What was the actual context of that? Well, the quote where Trump said he was going to be a dictator on day one was originally in context of his plans to close the border and then to bring back American oil. He made this statement during an interview with Fox News host Sean Hannity last year. Watch this.
The media has been focused on this and attacking you. Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except what?
He's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, no. Other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
Now, also on the point of Trump declaring a national emergency as part of these operations, this seems to be almost forgotten. But Trump actually did declare a national emergency over the border crisis before he left office. He actually did it already. This goes back to February 2019. Have a look at this. This is the official presidential document on this website. It says, "A proclamation. The current situation at the southern border presents a border security and humanitarian crisis that threatens core national security interests and constitutes a national emergency, declared by the President of the United States." Further, it states that because of the gravity of the current emergency situation, it is necessary for the armed forces, the U.S. military, right, to provide additional support to address the crisis. And further, he states, quote, "Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, by the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including sections 201 and 301 of the National Emergencies Act, hereby declare that a national emergency exists at the southern border of the United States." And then Trump said, quote, "I hereby declare that this emergency requires use of the armed forces." Now, in other words, what happened? Donald Trump already declared a national emergency over the border, and he already activated the U.S. military to deal with it. Now, look, of course, that proclamation, that declaration I showed you, that went away when President Joe Biden came to office not long after that, because Trump made that very close to the end of his first term. That came back in 2020. And Trump also faced various lawsuits over that declaration. He had a lot of groups trying to sue him for it. But with Trump coming back to office, well, I'd say it's not that far-fetched he'll do the same thing again. He already did it. It is likely, and he's even saying that he's going to bring it back. Only this time, it also appears he's going to use the military and various other powers, not just to close the border, but also to carry out actual mass deportations. Last time was more about border security. This time it's border security and deportations. In fact, these are even the first 2 agendas on his core promises for his campaign. Have a look at this. This is Trump-Vance 2024. Number 1, right? Seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. This is the number 1 priority they have at the very top of that list. Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Now, look, again, we'll likely see challenges to this from civil rights groups, from legal groups, and especially, I'd say, from the media and from the political front. But the declaration of a national emergency and the potential use of the military to carry out deportations like this does seem to be on the agenda. Trump is confirming it, saying he's going to do it. Now, On the note of the legal challenges we will very likely see, there's something else. There is actually a long legal precedence on deporting illegal immigrants, including on a mass scale. Now, the scale this time is kind of the big difference. Previously, you might be talking about like 2.5 million, like Obama, or you might be talking about numbers smaller than that. Trump's talking about 11 million or more under Biden alone, maybe 11 million prior to Biden. And some put the number, Trump would suggest, many times higher than that there are a lot of unaccounted for people. Now, this wasn't always actually a politically divisive issue, though. This used to be something Democrats were just as on board with. And let me show you the evidence of that. In fact, remember, former President Barack Obama deported more illegal immigrants than any president before him. They called him the deporter-in-chief. Have a look at this. This was from back in 2016, ABC News, right here, right? President Barack Obama has often been referred to by immigration groups as the, quote, deporter-in-chief. And they say between 2009 and 2015, his administration has removed more than 2.5 million people through immigration orders, which does not include the number of people who self-deported or returned away and or returned to their home country by the border at the border by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And notice that according to governmental data, the Obama administration has deported more people than any other president's administration in history. In fact, it says they have deported more than the sum of all the presidents of the 20th century. They note that President George W. Bush's administration deported just over 2 million during his time in office, and Obama's numbers don't reflect his last year in office, for which data is not yet available. And he continued deporting a lot of people, by the way, the last year. In other words, we're going to be seeing a lot of legal challenges with this. The issue is it's been done before. The issue is there's legal documentation of how it was handled previously. In fact, remember they talked about the kids in cages and family separation? The images they used for that, most of the media, was from the Obama administration. It was from the Obama administration because he was doing it. And of course, they're noting, well, look, if you break the law and you go to jail, yeah, you're going to be separated from your family. That's how it is. Same thing with deportations. That's unfortunately the way things work when you break the law. And that's the argument they're using for it. On the civil rights front, you're going to be seeing a lot of challenges to this. ACLU, a lot of other groups are already suggesting they will be fighting it tooth and nail. We'll see how much they can fight it, again, because there is legal precedence, but also because of the method they're probably going to be rolling out, which is the Alien Enemies Act. At least that's what they're suggesting. And also you're going to have a lot of states trying to enact policies to prevent the federal government from using its forces to come into their territories and kick people out. Also going to be very difficult, not only because of the Civil War and the precedent of that, which did allow the federal government to dictate to an extent the laws of states, which, before that wasn't as much the case. But also because, ironically, during the Biden administration, we saw a lot of the laws that would protect states and state sovereignty get kind of overturned. States have less sovereignty than before. And so it's harder for them to fight back on this, ironically. Now, like in other news, the New York Times is facing ridicule over a recent so-called fact check it published on RFK Jr., who's been nominated as the new head of Health and Human Services. I'll be talking about this more after I come back from a quick break.